Hello, guys. Welcome back. This is the External View. This is the sixth episode.
Sixth episode. Oh, this is crazy. I'm just repeating myself at this point, but sixth episode.
Yeah, because we had to take this.
This is like the third retake because Ross won't shut up. Becky's pretending she's revising for ESS.
Just
Don't
expose
look at me
everyone,
like
Ray.
that.
Just
Don't
expose
look at
everyone.
me like that. It's good to have her.
I like how she turned around, like she
and
was
she's
gonna
got
say
earphones
something.
as well.
Like she's gonna say
They're
something.
dead. I'm just putting them in to block out the noise. Of it. That's
What
I'm doing
noise?
for a charger.
We're not even making noise. That's the thing. Like.
Yes, you are. You're talking.
Alright. Yeah, and today we're joined by George Petts and Enzo McLaren.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, yeah, so no, I know that both of you study psychology.
Philosophy.
Sorry, apologies.
This
Philosophy.
is the better one.
It's the same thing.
Is it? No, it's not. Psychology is the study of the brain, isn't it?
Yes, and
And-
philosophy
And
is...
psychology. Wait, you just said psychology. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, so psychology, you're studying the brain. Philosophy is basically asking a bunch of really unnecessary abstract questions that no one would really need to know, but
So,
like talk.
it's fun anyway.
Yeah.
It's big talk. That's
Big
how I
talk.
describe it. It's big talk.
Talks daddy.
Yes.
Daddy talk.
Yeah. Would you say
If you wanna
high
be that,
philosophy
you like
is like
that.
higher talk?
Basically, yeah, it's just higher talk. But without the...
But talk is really interesting.
It
But-
is, but like it gets boring after a while.
It
it's
depends
the,
who
it's
you
the
are.
good
though.
bits of talk,
Yeah.
I think.
It depends who you are and who's teaching you. Oh wait, by the way, for our external listeners that don't go to our school, talk is no, yeah, we have a few from like my old school and from Con's old school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, talk is it stands for theory of knowledge. And it's literally where we look at like
Yeah, it's like we go over what knowledge actually is, and we look at really deep questions such as what makes knowledge and like
owns knowledge. Wow.
yeah, who
who owns
owns
knowledge?
knowledge? Like what is knowledge? Is it the data that we perceive from our surroundings, or is it something within us?
it's really interesting, but it's like I think like the viewers can tell like it gets boring after a while. Like it gets a bit too interesting to the point where you can't be bothered.
It's just it's much too like broad. You can't really create a coherent argument in talk. Whereas I think in philosophy, you kind of because it's such a personal subject, you don't really have that aspect of what am I like reaching for this really abstract thing, rather than like in philosophy, it's more what would you personally do in this situation.
Especially in morals, like
Yeah.
ethics. That's like one of the core. No, it's not the core theme, is it? It's one of the other themes. But it's.
I mean, there's two core themes, which is religion and then morals and ethics as well. So
Yeah, I do standard philosophy, by the way, so
Yeah.
I don't do the religion bit.
That's George Petts, by the way, for those that can't recognise by voice. Yeah, no, so what is the main difference between standard and higher philosophy? Like, you just going through, like, more in-depth questions, or...?
Well, in higher we look at mainly like religious arguments. We have a lot of higher lessons with Mr. Asker where we go over like really in-depth arguments, but then we have specific theories detailed by key individuals that we talk about in higher rather than in standard. Whereas standard it's more abstract. You're talking about on a more personal level. In higher, it's more talking about the actual study of philosophy through the years.
Okay. I mean, what is it about philosophy from, like, GCSE? Because it's not a subject people study at GCSE. What about that topic should I, like, I want to
Did
study
you
that?
do philosophy GCSE?
We couldn't take philosophy GCSE.
Yeah, it's not a subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the closest you could probably take was psychology, which I took.
Psychology, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's still kind of, I mean, there's a big divide really, because psychology is kind of how people act within certain situations. Like you've got topics like social influence and that, which is like how people are affected by authority figures. Whereas like in philosophy, we kind of touch on that, but it's
What is what is an authority figure?
pretty much, yeah, it's just like that it's like meta questioning, which is annoying,
Well, annoying and fun. At the
It
same
is
time.
fun. Yeah, but like,
Well,
I mean,
evidently, not many people find it that fun, as several people dropped out of the class. There's only 7 left now.
Is
but,
that because
Is it
it was
7
hard
now?
or because it wasn't interesting?
mainly because the academic side isn't that clear?
Oh, okay.
Because it's because it's a more social subject, I think a lot of people aren't like, oh, how can I get the best marks in this subject?
Is it 7 now? Because I'm pretty sure it was 8 a few weeks ago, wasn't it? Oh, is that because George Pett's...
George is the 7th.
Yeah, I'm the
Oh,
seventh.
it's the
There's
seventh.
6 hires and 1 standard. I'm the only standard student. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because like I take the bus with you guys every now and then. Enzo's come to Dartford like what, twice. He tells me he liked it, but honestly, I know he hated Dartford.
No, it was all right. Okay.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Dartford's boring,
It
man.
depends what part of it you go to.
I just took him around
If you go to
everywhere.
the park, then it's fine. Like,
No, the park, even that, I'm pretty sure he didn't like, because like the kiddie area
yeah.
closed down. I don't know what the heck they're doing, but I liked it before. It was just a basic generic park. There was like a stone area, it's all graffitied over, but it looked nice.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? Because you said it was spread with graffiti, right? But it still looked nice. What do you think about authoritative figures like being against graffiti?
That's interesting. Oh. Well, see, the thing is, right, the graffiti, the graffiti in Dartford just always had been there before I ever went to that park. So I didn't know what it looked like otherwise. I don't know. It's interesting because like there's a ton of graffiti all around Dartford, but it all, in my opinion, looks nice. Like even I think it's South Bank in London. You know, the skateboard area.
Yeah.
Generically, I think it's a nice looking area. It doesn't look bad.
Do you think graffiti contributes to the surroundings?
I mean, it depends what type of graffiti. If it's like you're deliberately committing a crime in order to, like on someone's building because out of hatred or something, that shouldn't be allowed. Obviously, I mean, it's not allowed.
Yeah, but do you think that would be art as well?
I mean, everything's a form of art, but it's more of hatred than art. It's like it's an exploration of hate. If you're doing it as a crime, like you're there, out of knowledge that it's a crime. Because I'm pretty sure if you're doing graffiti in South Bank on that in the skate park area, so like people from South Bank, it's not typically like a criminal act. Because I'm pretty sure if a police officer walks past, which they do all the time, London's not a safe area. They wouldn't care less. I think it's about the intent behind the art piece, other than what it represents.
Yeah, but some people, when you say they do it as a crime, well, they also do it to express themselves, right? So wouldn't you say, because you said depending on the context behind it is what makes the art piece, right?
Yeah, but it
I'd rather them express themselves not on the side of my building, please.
no, but it's like why.
Okay, fair point, yeah.
Why is that their form of expression? Because they can easily paint on a canvas, right? I think that's their form of expression because of the thrill that they're doing something illegal.
I mean, it adds a lot more context into it, obviously. Like, rather than if you're just painting on your own.
Yeah.
Rather than it makes a comment about society in some kind of way if you're graffitiing on something. I mean, if you're talking from an artistic perspective, some people graffiti just because they want to graffiti. That's a whole different thing.
Oh, okay.
And because it's illegal, it might also add more value to the message behind it in a sense. Because it shows that, okay, that they're willing to break the law. They have freedom of speech to say what they want, and they're showing that to other people as well.
I mean, it's like in Spider-Man into the Spideyverse, right?
That's the craziest
Spideyverse.
comparison.
No,
How
no.
do you go from graffiti to that?
You're here.
Okay.
By the way, I said this at the
He does-
beginning, like the very first few episodes. I always make reference to films. I'm a film student. I love films. I watch films all the time. In Spidey in the Spider-Verse, his uncle was a graffiti artist. It's not like his job. I can't remember what he did, but he was a graffiti artist. Did it with Miles Morales, and then at the end of the movie, to represent his uncle because his uncle died, he did an art piece, and he was all like spiritual sort of thing. Like he was expressing himself through his graffiti, and it's not really a criminal act in that sense because he did it in like some derelict areas, but it's like
Do you think the value of the piece, so graffiti in this example, changes based on our perception of how good the piece is? So let's say, for example, if someone made a really good-looking graffiti art piece, right? Would we value it higher than someone who's just expressing himself?
I mean, I don't
Or
know.
herself.
I think we should ask our guests. I mean, George, what do you think?
I honestly think, yeah, totally. I think our perception of it as a society is based on our subjective views of whether the art piece is good. And I think the kind of problem around graffiti stems from society's perception of it and how adverse a lot of people are to having graffiti on their buildings, especially since like our buildings, like we don't build like buildings like we used to really. Like you look at older buildings and they're way more intricate and way more like visually appealing than newer ones, which are like flat and bland. And it's basically a perfect canvas. So I feel like you're kind of isolating yourself from the rest of society if you're really adverse to people being able to express themselves and like kind of better the image of your own buildings, you know.
Yeah, but so do you think then the building is also a form of art as well, and the graffiti artist is kind of ruining that art by painting over it?
I mean, yeah, well, because who creates the building? An architect, or even better, you got the construction workers that do the actual work in creating the building. It's all art because it's like the architect, especially, you know, they go into time designing and all this.
Yeah, but the architect designs the building as a plan. They don't really do, let's say, the exterior walls of the building, right? So would you say the exterior walls of the building by themselves are a piece of art, or is the design of the building?
No, essentially,
piece of
because
art?
like if you look at the Shard, I'm pretty sure the architect made sure it looked like that.
Yeah. in
It's not just interiors.
But I don't think anyone would graffiti on the side of the Shard.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
fair.
the Shard. That's incredibly different to just some
I mean,
random
it's probably going to be a
derelict
lot
building
harder
somewhere.
Yeah.
to do graffiti on the Shard. You'll go to prison within seconds.
Definitely, yeah.
It's an icon in the UK.
So I'm mainly talking about, let's say, a blank, like, I don't know,
At the side of
wall
the
or
school,
something. Not school, just a random house.
a derelict house or a used house.
Used.
Do you know what I
I'd
mean
say.
by derelict?
No,
A derelict is like abandoned.
I mean abandoned as well. Like, where do you draw the line of graffiti being, let's say, a bad addition to a landscape?
If you're sorry,
Oh, sorry.
if you're a tourist and you're in an area and you see a building and it's got graffiti all over it, you're not gonna have positive connotations of that building, and then that gives you a negative connotation of the area.
Doesn't it depend on your mindset though? Because isn't it that some people might see that as a form of expression and they'll actually appreciate the graffiti being there? Let's say, for example, you're in I don't know, there's probably some area in London where they use a lot of graffiti, right?
Yeah,
And that's probably part of the landscape. That's probably part of the atmosphere. What makes that part of London unique, right?
I agree, yeah.
So maybe the neighbors wouldn't look at it and think,
No, but that goes against my point. My point is about tourists, not
yeah,
local people that already accepted it. I'm talking about people that are unaware of the atmosphere and they're coming for holiday. Then they see this building. It's not going to look appealing. It's
it
unattractive.
depends on the mindset again. Because some people may find it unique and think, okay, yeah, that's something that I like. But some other people may obviously do what you're saying and criticize the building, right? But I think that kind of links back to art being a very subjective form of communication in a sense.
But that type of mindset you're talking about is very rare. A lot of people are going to look at that building and have a negative feeling.
What, like, oh, sorry.
No, it was
So what the graffiti you're talking about, like, you think like just like tags and stuff like that, as opposed to like larger murals? Is that what you're referring to?
I think you can draw a line there though, because if it was a mural, I'm pretty sure a lot of the people would, tourists, they would they would
They wouldn't.
like that.
They'll just empathize. Just
Empathize.
sympathize.
Sympathize how?
I mean,
With the mural.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But if it was something like a tag, they would probably think that it ruins the landscape, right?
Yeah, like, I feel like tags are kind of they don't really have any meaning. It's just kind of like the blank was here, you know, kind of thing. But if you kind of, you can probably not class that as art unless it's like attempting to be visually appealing. Like if it's just basically just like a signature, right? You wouldn't really class a signature as art unless its intent was to be visually appealing.
okay,
So-
yeah, fair.
But where do you draw the line of an art piece being an art piece? Because what is art? Like, because I could say that, let's say, just ink on a page is art, like, and you could also make the argument that at what point do words become words on a piece of paper? Because it's just, essentially, it's just ink.
Like, Con, like, seriously, like, if we go to a talk lesson and say that question, your talk teacher's basically, she's just going to blatantly say everything's art. Because realistically, in a talk mindset,
I mean, is everything not art? Like,
no, that's what I mean. So whoever created this table that we're laying this phone on is an artist in their own way. I write a story that's a form of art. Like, most things are a form of art. Like, a singer is called an artist when they're not creating any physical art, like painting art, but they're making art in the sense of music. Like,
yeah.
everything's art. So like, there's no line to draw with art. It's just art is art. Like, everything can be considered as art.
I think it honestly comes from the either the intent the artist puts into it or the kind of meaning you draw from it yourself. Because you could go out into nature. Nature's just like, depending on like your kind of views on religion or something. Nature's just kind of an inevitability. It's just there, you know. So if you go out into that and you see the kind of meaning behind that, I don't mean meaning like a spiritual sense, but like meaning in the fact that like,
The way you feel about it.
yeah, the way you feel about it, yeah. You could say that that's art, but I mean, I personally, from this table here, I don't like, there's no emotions I draw from it. It just kind of is, so I wouldn't class that as art. So I think it's just really subjective.
It's a fair point, but like, almost anything could be classified as art. In my opinion, I don't agree with the idea that it does. It just is. Like,
Do you think it depends on the context, though?
I mean, for example, right, there's a lot of art that people consider art, and it's super pathetic. Like, in talk, we were looking at this guy who got a toilet seat and flipped it over, took a picture, and now that's art. And he won, I'm pretty sure he got like millions for it.
Yeah, but if you're an established artist, right, they're basically not paying for the art, they're paying for the signature.
Well, it's the
they're paying
same
for
way
the
that how
name.
people pay for brands and not the quality.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, I remember I had a geography teacher a while ago, not in this school, in my old school, and he was really pissed off. I think he was like arguing the point where people buy like Land Rovers and Mercedes and all that, these cars, when if they buy a Toyota, it could probably have the same qualities, probably a lot cheaper, but all the people are buying is a name. I mean, that's the benefits of the business world, but like, yeah, no, anything, like, I mean, Enzo, you got any, like,
What do you
input?
think?
I mean, consumerism is a large thing in society nowadays that you basically can't really get away from.
People want to buy things that they see of value, but that value can't really be created intrinsically anymore, in a way. Like, you're not gonna go out and, even if it's like the most beautiful like diamond in the, like, you go out and buy like a necklace or something and you see the most beautiful necklace subjectively, even if it's a terrible brand, if it's from a disreputable person, you're not really gonna buy that in exchange for something that to the whole to wider society is like more prized. Does that make sense?
So you think art depends on the status of the artist as well?
I don't like that it is, but I think that is to a certain extent that is kind of the prerequisite to art now. Like, if you go into the Tate Modern, a lot of that stuff is from someone who is a reputable artist and has an idea of an emotion they want to invoke and then creates some random thing to try and invoke that. I mean, there are some brilliant pieces there, but there are also some that I've seen that are just people doing stupid things for the sake of shock value, which in some way, if shock value's done well, I think that creates a good piece of art. But if you're just making shock value for the sake of it, then that's just stupid.
Yeah, but I think that also that also links to, let's say, an artist like Picasso, right? Because many people don't like his later pieces, even though he's really good at art. Like, again, he has the technical skill. I think his art style has mainly started being Cubism after a while, right? And he sort of invented Cubism, and is one of the people that originally invented Cubism, right? And if you see his self-portraits from like age 18 to age 90, you'll start to see that the portraits, as he ages, they start like degrading in technical skill, in a sense, because they, as he ages, they mainly consist of like just shapes and lines, right? And it's more abstract. But those art pieces, those portraits, would still sell more than the ones he had originally, because he developed his own style, in a sense, and because he also invented a new art movement, Cubism.
I think something that people don't really take into account when they're talking about Picasso's Cubism is he moved away from a more realistic style because of he was moving into the modernist movement. In the modernist movement, they wanted to show an exact replica of reality, but you can't, like Picasso's philosophy was, you can't get that from an actual image. It sounds quite counterproductive, but what you intended to show with these shapes and lines and colors in Cubism is he wanted to invoke a certain type of emotion in the viewer that he himself, like if you were with him in that room, you would feel. Whereas you don't get that from a still image. If you've got an image of your friend, you're not in the room with your friend. Whereas if you've got like a certain array of colors and shapes that kind of invoke the certain emotion, that was what he was saying was his implication to the modernist movement.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
I mean, I wanna.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. So you're saying that even it's something like a still image can't evoke the same emotions as something like a more abstract sort of piece where it's filled with lines and colors that may remind you
Yeah,
of a
exactly.
certain person. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, I wanna divert this slightly, just slightly. I mean, still on the topic of art, but it's like bringing more to the modern age of like social media and whatnot.
Yeah.
Especially like YouTube and like people who make money off vlogging, where they like, I mean, most vloggers just record their day and what they do in their day. I mean, if they're like famous and popular, yeah, no. So I was looking at so yes, social media, yeah, and vloggers, making money off like videos that they just record or throughout their day. I mean, if they're famous, they're gonna have an exciting day. But like, yeah, it's like, how valuable is their art at that state? I mean, all they do is just record their day, and then post it on social media and make. I mean, if you have people like Logan Paul, if they, I don't know, does he do that? I haven't watched his stuff in forever.
I don't know. I think he does do vlogs sometimes. Like,
I mean, the
he probably does. Sidemen do.
Sidemen do.
I think at that point, it starts becoming less about art and more about just having fun and like sort of the emotions that the video produces, in a sense. Because if you're watching a vlog from, let's say, Sidemen, right, they have like funny parts and you're hooked in as into what they're doing, right? So you kind of want to keep watching, which is what in return gives them money, right? So I feel like in that sense, that art starts becoming more about interaction and how the person recording evokes feelings to the viewer, right?
I think in the YouTube scene, a lot of the videos that are being posted now are definitely about consumerism, mainly because YouTube it's a software platform. The videos that get popular are based off of an algorithm. The way that you beat that algorithm is by using like materialistic philosophies to push your videos forward. Like Mr. Beast, for an example, he's mastered using keywords, using like big budgets that would like draw people in, and so people have tried to replicate that, but like in ways that aren't as effective as Mr. Beast, because he's got all of this money and he can actually pull these things off. But what happens is that they get their videos seen to loads of impressionable children that are looking up the same things, but they don't have like the same quality, which is, it's quite funny to me. And then you've got like the peak of consumerism is the rise of like Andrew Tate and the and those kind of characters who are literally just using buzzwords that like the impressionable teens like to look at on YouTube. They don't care about their points. They just care about how they're getting across their points.
Wait, how is Andrew Tate doing? Like he's in prison now, but isn't it like you can only keep him for like 180 days or something?
Yeah, and then I think it's 2 more months left.
So if they don't find anything in the next few months, that's it.
It's actually unbelievable how they put him in prison. No, well, what is it? Is it prison or?
I don't know. To be fair, I haven't been following it too much.
Yeah, they detained him basically, and then they kept him in for so long, even though, and they can't find anything on him, even though.
I know
like,
they might have, and they're just not going to release it.
I
Like
mean,
they're
there are
probably
a lot
not.
of allegations. I mean, there are bound to be a lot of allegations against someone of Andrew Tate's ilk.
Yeah.
But I think the Romanian government is just kind of holding him to test the waters on.
I mean, they might have something, but like probably not enough to prove anything or.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully enough to prove something. Because if he's
Apparently, they
done
have
it,
CCTV.
CCTV.
CCTV footage. Yeah.
No, see, this is one thing I don't get. Like, obviously, people dislike Andrew Tate, but I don't want the allegations to be true, because if they're true, a lot of bad things happen to a lot of bad people.
Exactly.
Not bad people, a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's horrible to think that a person like the Tate brothers, or the people like the Tate brothers have done that. Forget about the Tate brothers, it's about the people at this point.
Yeah.
And so many people across the globe want that to be true. If he's, what is it, trafficking?
Human trafficking.
Yeah, it's disgusting for a start.
Even people that I don't like, I still don't think I'm gonna. If something comes out about them, it's still important to treat evidence as evidence.
Definitely.
Rather than, because a lot of people are very quick to see someone they don't like and then immediately go, oh, they're a villain when something's presented about that. Like there was a controversy not recently, but a few months ago, about Ethan Klein versus Fresh and Fit. Basically, Ethan Klein got on a person who said, oh, Fresh and Fit did all of these, well, one of them did all these horrible things to me. And then I think it was Myron came on and said, no, these are the facts. This is everything that happened in that.
Myron from
Fresh and Fit, yeah.
Oh,
Came on and said, oh no, this is all
Do you know
of
who
the...
that is?
no.
I don't know.
It's you probably know who it is. You've probably seen him. It's this. I don't know if you've seen on YouTube like little clips of this guy that has a podcast with like girls sitting around the table and someone in the
It's
middle.
the second worst podcast I've ever seen apart from Sneeko.
Star man.
I'm so glad he didn't say the external view for a second.
Oh, sorry, third
No,
worst.
because
third worst.
the external view is actually a good podcast. That's
we're rated like 4.8 on Spotify out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Someone must have given us like a 4 or something. But other than that, we're getting.
Mostly got
Alright,
five.
I can't remember what it was about, but I'll get there in the end.
Ethan Klein.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so basically
The
Ethan
podcast,
Klein got on this person. Myron said, "Oh no, these are definitely the facts of what happened," and he was undisputably like correct about his points. He had good evidence, but even though I hate Fresh and Fit, they're so like.
What do you hate
stupid.
about them?
They just have zero good points. They're one of those channels that if you say anything to them, they're gonna challenge you to a fight or like whine.
They won't accept
whinge
much.
and moan. Yeah, they don't. They
So,
don't accept.
complete opposite
They don't
of the
accept
external
other
view,
people's
right?
No, I
point-
think they don't
points.
accept.
you say that and you're like, all these edited out
Like
bits
they-
of you threatening people in this room.
Yeah.
I had to edit
Keep
that
it
out
in,
now.
keep it in.
They had a big.
I think they don't accept like disrespect.
No, they just don't. They just don't take good points into account. They had a big controversy with probably one of my favorite YouTube channels at the moment, like Abram Preach. I can't remember exactly what the controversy between them was, but they were just making points against each other, and like Abram Preach were making good points against them, and then Fresh and Fit were just insulting their appearance and then challenging challenging to fights, which is just immature and childish. They just don't know how to run. They don't know how to run a podcast. They get on people who don't know who don't have good points and just like, what am I trying to say? They get down on them, like trying to build themselves up like they have good points when they really don't. They don't know what's going on at
I
all.
mean, I'm not going to argue for them, right? They can run their podcast the way they want. But I mean, I think it is like the way content is. Like they don't want to accept disrespect on their own podcast. Like if they have a point, they're going to make sure their point is the only right point. I think that's what it is. Like
No, but I think that's a
don't
very
think
weak
that's-
stance.
that's
That's a very
the case,
weak
though.
stance to take. If
Definitely.
you,
I know, I'm not saying
Like,
it's
because you
good
have
or-
to be receptive of everyone else's.
Yeah, and I'm
points,
not saying
but-
it's a good or bad.
But most of the time, from what I've seen on the clips, I think the points that they make, I agree with most of the time, because like, I haven't seen a lot of what you've seen. I feel like, but what I've seen is mainly like
I've
women
seen-
arguing against them and making silly points that they obviously prove.
Yeah,
Well,
but when they time and time again they get on people who start making really stupid points that have nothing to do with anything, and then they can easily make rebuttals against them.
That's true, actually. Yeah,
That's stupid.
Yeah,
Just get on someone who can actually have a good debate with you.
intellectual debate.
Exactly, yeah. Because they get, again, back to consumerism, because they get views off of Fresh and Fit takes down like women in general. Like it's just
yeah.
it's just immature.
Yeah, I feel like they do it for content.
City Arthur. What a nice and lovely surprise. To everyone in the external view, we have Sid Arthur on the who's
Hi,
just come
guys.
to visit. The guy's got a fresh beard all the time.
This is
Shut
shambolic.
Yeah.
What's this one on?
It's like philosophy.
And
Well,
art.
Yeah,
as
long
well.
for me.
It's not really about philosophy, not really anyway.
Philosophy and art a little bit.
Anyways, George, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I think you're talking about like consumerism, yeah, and like how this is kind of the peak of consumerism. I feel like it's really not funny, but like it's kind of like ironic then when like people like Andrew Tate and stuff and like Fresh and Fit, they've got people who are trying to imitate them as well. Like you've got like a similar thing like with the I hate saying internet drama, but like between Sneeko, who's just like, man, I hate Sneeko, man. He's such a nerd.
He's the worst.
Yeah, him and Moist Critical.
Oh my god, I love
Why'd you
that.
guys
I love
hate
that drama
Sneeko?
so much.
Because
He's a man child.
He is
No,
honestly-
to be
I
fair,
kinda like
literally-
no, to be
I like
fair,
literally a man child.
I'm not saying this out to follow the crowd. I do personally dislike Sneeko. Like
You do.
personally, yeah.
I like
I strongly
Sneeko, but
dislike him.
I really like his early content because he was actually putting time and effort into his early content, and what he was doing was basically just speaking his mind out and letting his views sort of known. He was going around in, I don't know where it was, probably New York or something like that. I don't
I mean,
know.
I'm not a fan of Sneeko, but someone like Hamza. Like I like.
Hamza, yeah.
I liked his content.
Because Sneeko went against Hamza at some point.
No,
Didn't he?
don't know, to be honest. Don't care. It's like it's more like Hamza is like more what he says is more valuable to me. I think.
Yeah, that's it. It depends on your mindset. Like,
No, it's not your mind. It depends on what you want out of the content.
let's say like you're looking into self-development, then obviously you'll prefer a channel like Hamza over a channel like Sneako's. But if you want to be exposed to more opinions and like a different sort of point of view, I feel like Sneeko is he's good at that because he sort of goes against what everyone thinks, what society thinks, because he's made a lot of controversial points.
No, but I think the main key point with Sneeko is that if he's another one of those characters that if anyone says anything against him, he's gonna revert to really disgusting attitudes. Actually, like there was a YouTuber called Chad made a video on him, like just a funny video, and he emulated having intercourse with her. That's
With
just
who?
disgusing. The YouTube Chad the YouTuber.
Oh,
who
Chad
made
Chad's a girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
Oh, like, 'cause- yeah,
Chad does sound
No,
like a
but
yeah.
He's disgusting. It was really horrible to watch actually, because it's like
Yeah.
someone was imitating violating a person. It's just not.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
disgusting.
Obviously,
Yeah.
that's immature to do, and you can't be doing that.
With the Moist Critical drama, he obviously threatened to come to his house and shoot him.
Yeah.
And then Moist was like, "Nah,
No, but
I
don't you-
have an
Wait,
AR-15."
but-
Don't you think that's him playing a character as well to lure people in?
Yeah, I mean,
No,
no,
but
but
when
when
you-
it laws in
Alright, go.
it laws in the wrong type of people, the people that the demographics aim towards, like Andrew Tate, is an impressionable teenagers who just don't see that it's a character at all, and it's appealing to them because maybe they haven't like had a prominent like male role model in their life, and they're kind of seeing, oh, there's this extremely masculine, like hyper masculine person, and I should try and emulate their kind of attributes when that's actually harmful. You know, it's there's nothing wrong with portraying a character like people like, I can't remember the comedian's name, but he does like Ali G and Borat, and he's trying to expose people's
Sacha
like
Baron Cohen.
yeah, he's trying to expose people's hurtful ideologies by playing a character. But with Andrew Tate and Sneeko, I don't
Wait,
know what Sneeko's
sorry, is that the
character.
guy who put not Ali G, what's his name? He did the song KSI, Chris, not Brown,
Chris Rock? No.
Chris Rock, nah.
Chris
Nah.
Rock. We
No,
talked about him in the
I
last
believe so.
episode, not this one though.
no, what's his name? He did he went to like a form of early retirement because someone just kept on dressing up in his face.
No,
What do you mean dressing up in his face?
Like, as in he put a costume and it was like a massive version of his face.
Oh, is it?
Ignore
So
me.
why did
sorry.
he
No,
retire
I'm not-
because of that?
Because he
Yeah, but with
he
your
thought it was a
point-
racial attack.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. With your point, don't you think, like, you're right, obviously, but I feel like people that don't think about the content that they're watching, they'll be affected by that negatively. But if you do think about the content that you're watching and form your own opinions about what you're watching, I feel like you can get a lot of good out of it if you don't take seriously the part where characters like that play a character, because there are some things that Andrew Tate and Sneeko have said that actually make a lot of sense and they add value to an individual, but obviously some of the time they're playing a character and they might not say respectable things that add value to someone. But then I think it's sort of your job as well when you're looking at content like that to understand what they're talking about and make your own opinion
To
about
be
it.
fair, to be fair, that could be anyone though. Like, I'm not gonna. Like, so I personally, like, right now, my opinions on the Tate brothers is either positive or negative. Like, it depends on the verdict of the allegations. Like, if it's true, because if they're true, that's it. They're out the window for me. Like, all they stand for is out the window. All the masculine figure. You're not a man if you're doing this sort of things to women and whatnot. Like, that's
Yeah.
not, in my mind, no matter how rich you are, I mean, if that's the way he got rich as well, like, it's out the bag, like, it's out the window, like, it's disgusting, it's not humane, like, it's just horrible, right? And, like, it could be like, a murderer could say something valuable. No, honestly, a murderer could say something valuable, like, and a young, impressionable child can hear it, take influence upon that. And then, obviously not become like a murderer, but like, just take influence on that. Like, that can be it with anyone. They may have valuable points, but it's the way they then emphasize on it and make it sort of less valuable.
Yeah. So you think based on what the person does, it adds or subtracts value from what the point that
It's
they're making?
on who the person is.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is why it's such an important, because obviously if you see a figure, no one's going to have perfect points on everything. No one's going to have perfect opinions. Everyone's going to have something different. if you have an image of someone who has some really, really good points and then are lacking in some certain areas, this is why it's so important to engage in debate with people of similar intelligence who can bring up points that challenge yourself, which a lot of these key figures in red pill community, they don't do. They just put all of these points over as gospel, rather than having people critically think. They lack the community that critically thinks, because they don't want to cultivate that community. They want to cultivate a community who follows them like a cult to gain more views.
Yeah, like sort of an echo chamber.
Exactly, yeah.
But I feel like Andrew Tate, for example, he did go do an interview with Piers Morgan, who did offer quite valuable points in the conversation. And Andrew Tate did go through that sort of mental challenge to speak to a person that has opposing viewpoints. And then if you watched what happened, Piers Morgan ended up actually liking Andrew Tate after that interview, and he started speaking good about him. Whereas before he didn't like him so much.
Because
But
I think at the point that Andrew Tate went on that interview, I haven't seen the whole interview, but at that point, from what I've seen, because he'd been through the whole his whole cancellation thing, he was at a point where he wanted to tone down how extreme he was, how extreme his views were, which kind of made him a more sensible person in that interview.
yeah, that makes sense.
And I think, as well as like wanting to, well, I feel like with Andrew Tate, right? At that point, it was kind of he's already got that. Sorry, I'll start my point again. He's kind of got that base community that he's looking for, right? He's got like all of his followers and whatever. And with going on like an interview with Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan is way more like famous and like has way more like concurrent viewers than he does. And I think if you're putting out these ideologies, if you've already got like a stable base, you're only gonna grow on that, really. And it's the people who are like, oh, this person's a bit controversial, I want to look more into that, and that's how he gains viewers. It's not necessarily on like, I don't think for him his intent wasn't to have a meaningful conversation where they exchange points. It was kind of more of a fame boost for him. And you kind of also see that, and you kind of see, you were talking about like how they have like some good points, right? I feel like with like, you can say that about anyone, and the good points are always kind of sprinkled in there to make these people seem more reasonable than they actually are. So it's like, oh, they've got some good points, I'll listen to more of them. And it's like, oh, I kind of agree with that. But then when you get within this echo chamber, within this community, that's where you kind of absorb more of those views, It's like whether you're kind of taken in by the allure of
The character.
Yeah, the character.
Yeah, I mean, before we end today's episode, I just want to say, like, Piers Morgan is sort of similar to all these people that you were saying earlier, where they sort of, like, they got a view,
And they push it on.
yeah, because Piers Morgan's deliberately known for, like, if someone tries to argue against him, he will cut them off halfway through their sentence, and then argue his point. Like, he's the same, like, I don't dislike Piers Morgan, because his views can be considered as quite, like, valuable, right?
Yeah, most of the time they're actually on point.
But I mean, there's some stuff where he's like taking the mick out of certain people, which, is disrespectful or not. I recently saw something about a guy being disrespectful to like religion and Islam, and then he was just talking about Islamophobia, and then like sort of showing that sort of respect for religion. Like, to be fair, like, even since like the second episode where I was debating the fact that I don't believe in God, I still respect like the people who decide to believe. Like, I wouldn't go to a certain extent to pick up the Bible and say it's rubbish.
Yeah, obviously not. Yeah,
I'm still respectful.
You have to have a certain sense of maturity as well.
Exactly, and I believe Piers Morgan has that. He's just like,
sometimes he is immature about the points that he's making, but like most of the time, yeah, he
Like the
is.
penguin thing with the identity stuff. I mean, I don't
That's a stupid
really have a valuable point
That's a
about like
stupid
identity.
argument for the context of the argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Just it doesn't.
oh sorry, no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a false comparison fallacy.
definitely, yeah.
All right then.
All right. Yeah. So this is the 6th episode. We talk a lot about like. There's a bunch of things to be
Just
said.
what you heard. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
We hope you liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're very grateful for all the followers. We have 45 now on Spotify.
Yeah.
Around 30 something plus on YouTube. We're grateful for everyone that listens, and
And if you have any suggestions, you can email us or
yeah, email
talk to us.
or put a message on the Instagram, whatever. It's easier for you. Yeah, have a good day.